So hello everyone, welcome back to the Deercast, day one here at the Stalking Show, and we're joined by the self-proclaimed silverback of the industry, Mr. Owen Beardsmore.
Silver badback.
You'll regret ever telling us that when we did our podcast with you.
Do you know where that came from? We did quite a bit with Andrew Venables a few years ago, and he told me, even though I've not got an hair on my body, that I was a silverback of the industry, so I didn't have to take it as a compliment or the fact that I'm an old git, but he was one as well. So I've just met him down there. I haven't seen him for probably a year or so, and it's just we've just been here a long time. Still got our own teeth though, you know.
Well done. When you brought us a little present.
Well, we were talking about this the other day, weren't we?
Yeah.
And this is a new bullet. We work with Hornady, and I know you've been shooting 308. Our favourite.
Yeah.
We love the 308. And I've been shooting the ECX all over the winter on our cull animals, and I've took it abroad and shot on Monterias with it, and I wanted you to try it. So I know you're into it, and I'm very pleased with it. When you take it out of the box and have a look at it, can you hear him unwrapping it?
It's really good for the podcast.
Oh, Owen, that looks fantastic.
Oh, shiny.
And what's the difference between this and the CX then?
Well, if you look at the CX, CX is like a Spitzer, pointy polymer tip. What are you looking at there for the audience that can't physically see it?
This one is a bit more stubby, I would say.
It looks like someone's cut the ballistic tip off.
Yeah, so it looks like you've got a mill of polymer that's flat. So you've probably got the tip of the 308 is probably 3 mil across.
Yeah.
So when that hits something, it's going to give perhaps a little bit more immediate expansion than your typical Spitzer that's going to go in and then open up the wound channel. And this bullet has been, I'm echoing Hornady's comments to us when we saw them in Sweden. This round has been specifically made with the European hunter in mind. So, and we've been using it. I've been really impressed with it.
And they're a new technology. This is
yes. Well, it's a development of the GMX, I believe, so for your shorter range distances under 300 metres, this is the bullet for in the woodland. We've been shooting muntjac with them, and I think if you talk to a lot of guys that are out there shooting deer and have moved to non-lead, it is a different reaction. It tends to run a bit more. The bullet tends to pass through it quite a bit quicker. And there's lots of manufacturers out there trying, to improve technologies and get this. And this really is a solution as far as I'm concerned. And, for the lads that are shooting fallow deer every day, muntjac every day, I've been really impressed with this round, and that's why I brought you a box. So,
well, it's very kind of you, Owen.
Just don't listen to the old silverback.
No, I've still got a couple of weeks. Just a couple of weeks of the fallow season left. We'll go out and knock something over.
And it's very much. There's a 150 grain there, but they do it in a 165 grain, and they do the CX bullet as well. I think the CX bullet is their other non-lead offering, and that's a good non-lead out to distance. I'm not saying this isn't, but I've been using it specifically 200 under 200 metres, and I've been really impressed with it. The what was it used to say, the drop down, it's that real hard hitting round. And not so hard on the carcass. And
it looks, with that flat tip to it, it looks like it should hit hard and expand well. So it'd be interesting to try that.
And I think I was just talking to a guy up there about trauma on carcasses having been shot them and everything, and I just said to him, what do you do? And he said, I'm normally out to shoot 2 or 3, so I don't actually grollop them. I kind of whack one and off I go, and whack one and off I go. And I suggested to him that when he's whacked it, are you actually sticking it with a knife, so putting it into the chest cavity and relieving all that pressure. And my idea to him was perhaps do that, and then that pressure doesn't go to where the bullets hit it hard, and you get sometimes that trauma up the exit hole side of the back, perhaps up into the bits that you want, where you don't want it to go. That's just blood going into where the air's been blown as it's gone through. So if you can immediately bleed it, even if you're not going to grolic it, you'll relieve that blood pressure, and you might find that the trauma that you are seeing when you're skinning it off a few days later isn't quite as bad.
So when we last, I was about to say when we last met with you, but we met with you on Teams, and I'm doing air quotes, so again, terrible for any podcast listener right now. You alluded to the fact you were about to get a second Kiplauf.
No.
Because you had one in 308 already, and you're about to get one in 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah.
You said you had 3 sons, so there was potentially, at some point, you have to make an excuse for a third.
So
how many are you up to now?
So no, still the one. The one I haven't received the 6.5 yet. But I was talking to a German importer that's got a stand here, and they were explaining the bureaucracy and the red tape of German export of guns since the crisis in the Ukraine is ridiculous now. And what used to be 7 to 14 days is 5 to 7 months.
Bloody hell, really?
Yeah, so I can only tell you what I was just told. And so it's those guns aren't flowing. And the one particular guy I was talking to, he's got guns for sale, they're sold, and he can't replenish that stock. They're all sold out. So it's an issue. So Brexit, German red tape, and Putin are to blame.
There we go.
I'll probably go missing now.
You'd be in real trouble. I was just saying, if you wanted to get one of your Merkel Kiplaufs in, that would be you'd be waiting a hell of a long time.
Well, no, actually. If you go to quick plug here, Rupert, I know Rupert's got a couple in because I was down there the other day.
Rupert Black.
Yeah. So,
there you go.
Yeah. He's part of the Kiplauf club. He really is.
It is slowly spreading, and what Harry is sitting here but not admitting is he's about to get. You put in for your variation, haven't you?
I'm waiting for my variation. I'm getting another 308, so I'm going to have 2 308s, and the Kiplauf is going to be a Bagara Kiplauf, which is a bit different.
Yeah.
But they're quite fun.
Yeah.
They do a lovely thumb hole, like a polymer stock.
Yeah.
Tiny little 20-inch barrel.
I know.
So I'm going to give that a go.
The guy I was just talking to, I hope he listens to this podcast actually, he was just telling me that he kind of bought one because he'd followed us and all that, so it's quite a nice story.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's why I was talking about ammunition, and that's why I was late for the stag calling. But he was saying how confident he is with it.
Yeah.
And how, and it's, I know it's the single shot, but you perhaps hunt with a different ideal, don't you? And I don't use mine for culling because it's a very nice little rifle, and I don't want it. I want it to be able to be passed on to my children in reasonably good condition. But he was saying the same. He kind of selects what he shoots with it, and when he goes out, it's like a special trip or whatever. So he's just moving on to roebucks like we are. We've just re-zeroed ours because we put one of these HQS mods on it, the little slim one. Have you seen those? Flipping it. They weigh nothing. They weigh nothing, and we've just put that onto ours, and it fits over the barrel, and it's like an added handhold for you when you carry it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I've got one of those really stubby little Freya and Devick ones on the end that looks like it would do nothing, but actually it takes quite a lot of the thwack out of it.
I know. And so on the range, it takes all the flip out of it and everything for a rifle, and we're just gearing up for our roebucks. So and some and we've got a couple of lady hunters coming out, so that I want to use that rifle with, and so we're looking forward to that.
So I was about to say, talk us through how this season's been for you.
Wet. Effing wet, and a bit more wet with it. It's been horrendous.
Yeah.
I actually had a client out this week, a really lovely guy from South Africa. A South African living in London coming out of this. And I picked an area we've not been to much since sort of like January. And as soon as I put boots on, my lovely crispy boots, and the first step into the woodland, we were already into like 3 centimetres of water. And as soon as you step into that, you think, well, what actually is going to be laid up in this woodland? What's going to lie in wet woodland?
Chinese water, dear.
Yeah. That's funny you say that because
swimming away.
So somebody I said that to earlier said that they've actually seen Chinese water laid down in 4 inches of water and they're happy with it. But But we were looking for fallow and roe and that, and we found a few muntjac, didn't we? But it was, I'm looking at Dan when I say that, but every footstep was, and it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge to shoot them. It's been a challenge to find them. It's been a challenge to extract them. And also when you've had to drag them out, they're horrible. You have to clean them out, you know, and it's been a difficult year. But we've done all right. I mean, we've still got the numbers and that, and I've seen you've been getting a few last, didn't they? Left it to the last 2 weeks, and you've been rolling your sleeves up, haven't you?
So I had quite a busy sort of personal life in November, December. So yeah. I think the deer had quite a tough time up till then, and then in November, December they're like, oh, must be the end of the season. Yeah. And then basically when I came back to it, I think basically there was one estate where I had a cull target of 100, and I basically delivered that in February and March, basically. Yeah. Quite apart from, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 that had been done before then. So I think by that point, I've come now, April, I can't find a fallow anywhere, because I think they've literally gone, Armageddon has happened, and they've just gone to ground. Yeah. So I'll probably lay off them there, and then we'll get back to it in August. But it's been a busy season. And
at this time of the year with fallow, it depends what ground you've got. You can lose everything, because they'll go and drop the fawns somewhere else, and you'll think, oh my God, I've shot too many. But they're not. They're just going off, and they go into rape and lay them in there and everything. And I think that's a valid comment. Is you think you've perhaps pursued them too hard or whatever, and it's just, you know, the bucks coming back into little groups, don't they? You know what I mean? You start seeing buck fawns with prickets and sorrels and stuff like that, and they go off and do their own thing, and the does just go off. But I was talking to a mate before Easter in Buckinghamshire. And he sent me a photograph, said, I've just seen your first roe kids.
What?
Yeah, I know, so that was a very early one. I mean, I've seen roe kids in bluebells, you know, April, but that was very early, so.
And when's the next film coming out? Because I mean, in stark comparison to us, who put out some very budget, very poorly edited films, your guys are sort of like production level quality films that keep us all entertained. So when's the next one coming out?
The next film, I would say, is probably coming out next week, and that will be the Aimpoint Media Hunt. So it's the follow-up from the Academy film that's just come out, two weeks ago? So it's a follow-up on that. That was in Sweden. And I think after that, we're thinking of putting up the deer talk that we had with the Royal Forestry, I think. And then we've got other films in the pipeline that I've got to obviously edit, which is from last year, out with Lewis and Lolo, some Spanish clients of ours, friends of ours, in the Bluebells. So that's from last year.
That one will come out probably at the end of the month, beginning of May. But plenty in the pipeline. We've got an idea to try and keep doing this. We get really good feedback on Bob Basic stuff that perhaps everybody thinks, you know, I say to Dan, oh, everybody knows that. And then when we put it out and break it back down to, you know, that muntjac's cast, and explaining a little bit about the cycle of a muntjac, and they're not the same as other deer, and that gets the next layer of people coming through and taking up stuff, showing an interest in it. So for any people that watch what we do and are long-term followers, they're seasoned stalkers, if it sounds like I'm talking to you like an idiot, it's not. It's because we're trying to keep educating the next layer of people coming through, and what may be obvious: mineral licks, feeding, high seats, moving your positions of your high seats, putting your trail cameras so they don't get the sun in them. That's all what we normally do to every day. Isn't necessarily well known by everybody.
No. Well, and even if actually someone watches them and they're very well educated in what they do, but actually just learning it from a different perspective and how different people do things, I think is always really interesting.
And I've always tried to be. I've never wanted to be the big I am. I've never wanted to say, oh, do it this way and do it that way. And I grew up watching films of people saying, you must do it like this and you must do it like that. And they were probably, you know, I don't know, Richard Pryor, and I loved everything he did, and I still revert back to his books. But he kind of spoke down to you. You know what I mean? He was a proper gentleman, and I'm trying to explain what we do and what works for us. A guy from Wales just told me, I've been trying to get older beans. You see you feed beans, and this is what I want to do. And I said, well, what area are you in? And I'm stalking all these orchards. I said, have you got any commercial crops around? No, it's all just apples. I said, well, you might not find that they take to it. And if that's the case, and you want to switch them to feeding, then maybe try putting your beans under oak trees in the autumn, so your deer feed on acorns and beans. And then they realise that that's a high protein source, and they will hunt for it. Fallow especially, when they're hungry. And try and... So that was a tip I gave him that I thought was just common sense, but isn't common sense. And just try and share, our journey and what we've done and the mistakes we've made and keep making, and the ones that work for us, I told him, don't bother feeding, get some mineral licks. If you got fallow deer, they'll find it, especially this time of the year when they start casting and everything. Get them onto it now, and if they made feeding of deer illegal, then just move to mineral licks, because everything in the forest goes to our, we have squirrels, we got pictures of blooming hawks on our mineral licks.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If you go onto the Bushnell trail camera stand on Edgar Brothers, they've got all there's a loop there on an iPad of all our videos, and there's all kinds of stuff on our mineral licks.
Wow.
So it's not.
It's funny, all those fieldcraft things that you probably assume are like basic hunter knowledge, but like so many people won't have had, like, when they've grown up with a dad who was like a stalker, or like had been mentored in that way. Like for me anyway, I'm always going back to those sort of basic videos just to sort of reinforce it. It's really funny, that kind of knowledge that you just assume that everyone has. It's not always the case.
I'm probably fortunate that I'm an old bloke, and I've done quite a bit of travelling, and I've done quite a lot in Europe, and you see what they do there, where they've, we've kind of, no one was really shooting deer till the 80s and 90s, and I've kind of seen us come through and it become very popular, and especially woodland stalking. Their stalking was in Scotland, wasn't it? And so we've adopted a lot of practices from the continent, high seats, but we've kind of put our own slant on it now. And I think where we are a leader in Europe, and what a lot of Europeans, especially what feedback we get through our social media and stuff like that, is Persch in Germany is to stalk. And not many Germans of my age group were stalkers. They were sitters, very effective sitters, and they knew every deer, and they got an eye seat on every corner of every field. And if you've ever travelled through any of the Germanic countries, there's millions of eye seats. So they knew what they got, and they knew they were going to leave that book till after the rort and all that. But the Brits weren't so patient and sitting there, and perhaps we hadn't got the high seat building technology, and after an hour you got uncomfortable, so you stalked them, what I mean? And that's what we've kind of, shooting off sticks is something we've developed off the back of the foxing lads going out and not being able to get onto ground because it was muddy and stuff like that. So I'm waffling on, but
it sounds like you need to get yourself one of these dough boxes.
I know, we've got quite a few of these actually.
You could sit all day and comfortably in one of these. It's probably big enough for a bed as well.
But we ended up in one, that guy we took out this week, as soon as we got into the wood, it started to rain, and it was just those April showers where it comes through, pours for 10 minutes and stops. And we just happened to have a dough box, a raised box that we got into for 10 minutes as it passed through, had a little bit of a chat. Dan sat underneath it because it wasn't as big as this box, but he sat underneath it, and then we carried on. But if you're going to shoot any amount of deer in the winter, you definitely need to have some warm and dry places. We shoot as many in the rain as we do is the honest truth. But it's nice to not have the rain dripping down the back of your neck for a few hours.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I would agree. Well,
whose is this high seat, by the way?
This is a Divana special. So they
robust
got in touch with us and knew we were having a stand here to record some podcasts, and they were the ones who suggested it. Fantastic. And it has been fantastic, because I think we're that little bit elevated.
Yes.
So again, really crap for podcast listeners, but we're about 6 foot off the ground. We've got walls, a floor, and a roof, and so therefore I think it just insulates us that little bit more for sound.
No, it's
so
great.
It's been good. Yeah.
It's definitely the raised high seat for the bigger guy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Put your feet up.
Very comfortable.
Well, I'm conscious you're a very busy man,
Yes.
Owen, and Dan as well, so I feel like Dan's got the rough deal here. Not only has he not got a microphone, he's not got a chair, and he's stood in the corner having to take care of you all day, Owen. And I'm sure you've got bits of the show you need to go off and see and do. So thank you very much for joining us.
No, it's a pleasure as ever, and I hope you have a great show, guys.
We'll keep you posted on these.
Yeah, it's we've had a good show so far, Dan, haven't we?
I think we need to get the lads on our podcast.
Yeah, we might do a reverse podcast.
Oh, you'll regret offering that.
We'll do a reverse podcast. No, so it's keep up what you're doing. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and there's definitely a wave of interest in what we're doing, the feedback we're getting. So I've just managed to secure an incredible podcast. I'm not telling you it is. I'm not telling you it is because you've probably already got her.
Okay.
No. But so one of our tick lists was to secure a couple of new guests onto our podcast, and I think we've achieved it today.
Good. Well done.
So have a great show, guys.
You too.
You carry on doing what you're doing, and we're going off to the bar.
Ideal.
You had turned the
Good
microphone
idea.
off, hadn't you? No. Oh, shucks. Take care.
Thanks.